Hello, here we are with another special agenda program. Our guest is Said Mohammadi Duraki. He is a reputable and great businessman and has been our guest twice before. I will summarize our previous programs and then we will start talking to him. Said Mohammad Duraki was born in Iran. He moved to Kuwait together with his family when he was 13 years old, and he continued his life there. Due to his family's business and commercial activities there, he is also assigned to trade over time and gradually becomes a managing member of a worldwide operating company with important trades. The oil trade, which is currently carried out on a large scale around the world, and large volumes of international and interstate trade is carried out by him and passes through him. As you have understood, our guest, Said Mohammadi Duraki, is a very important person in the world of oil trading, and he is going to talk to us about some very important topics tonight. He had a dream 17 years ago, and after Mr. Duraki's life has changed direction, in his own words, he sees three great prophets together in his dream, and some information is given to him. Afterwards, to confirm that information, white flowers bloom on the plants in all of the three pots in his office. It is normally not possible for that white flower to come out of that plant, as it was shown in our previous programs, if you followed them. The spiritual aspect of the work is expanding a lot, but due to some obstacles and troubles, and due to some opposing groups and governments, he unfortunately had to spend his life in prison between 2006 and 2008, and he was thrown into a prison in Dubai. After he was set free, he struggles to finally convey the message that was given to him to the world. He is trying to give the message of peace to the world with his own means and by covering his expenses himself. According to him, there are three important aspects to the job: the spiritual aspect, the economic aspect, and the political part of the work. Due to the statements he has made to us so far, he settled in Istanbul in 2012 to explain these three aspects in one place, and says that he would have to announce this message from Anatolian lands. We talked for a long time to him in the two previous programs, but two programs were of course not sufficient to convey such a great message. We are making a change in this program. We eliminated the translation part in order for our dear audience and also for Mr. Duraki not to get distracted. We will make the program a little fluent by talking directly to him and by then translating and dubbing. Yes, Mr. Duraki, Said Mohammadi Duraki, welcome to our program.
Thank you very much. Thank you in your deepest respect.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And you have my deepest respect. In two programs in which we welcomed you as our guest before, we talked about three aspects of this topic, and the three aspects of the philosophy that brought you here to Anatolian lands. But the time is not enough to cover all of your statements. You are again our guest in a new program. and we are ready to hear the details of the spiritual, economic, and political aspects of this topic that inspires you. There is one topic that concerns me. You are a successful businessman who is well known all around the world. But the emphasis of this movement you started is more on spirituality. Of course, this is also out of our habit. A successful and well-known businessman focuses on spiritual values and leaves his job, company, and organization for 8 years and chases after interlocutors in Istanbul. I would be glad if you could go deeper into this. Is spiritual direction important in the philosophy you want to tell? How important is this message you want to give? The continuation of your statements comes to such an extent that it saves the whole world. I want this to be very clear in the mind of my audience and also in my own mind, so that we can see a spiritual and an economical character at the same time. Here you are.
In the name of God and all earth and beings. First of all, I salute the respectable people of the great Anatolian lands. Then my own people, which I love very much, the people of Iran, and of course the people of the world. Because our goal is, in fact, you asked a very good question, explained it well. I arrived here and practically came to this conclusion. Actually, I have been in the market from childhood on or after 42 years of working in the market. I used to think that those who are well off and are working in economic fields in the market will always seek assets and wealth. But as religious and spiritual areas have attracted my attention since my childhood, I thought that if there is a truth, if everyone in the world is after the truth, for example, when we look at the history of the major religions, Judaism, Christianity, or Islam, we see that the prophets were always poor and they traded. Prophet of Islam, the Prophet Muhammad, Jesus, who was the Christian world defined as the Holy Spirit, or the Prophet Moses, have always dealt with trade in one place. Here I came gradually to the conclusion that the all ways of justice are also in this world. If you have a good market, you have good traders. Sorry to say this, but people who hold the fate of the nations. I want to say this very simply. Be a grocery store, a greengrocer, or the mega projects of the top states of the summit and of the great powers of the world. It would be very dangerous if economic formations do not feed on spirituality. This would make a mess. Suppose someone who is rich earns a lot of money and his life is developing a lot, and maybe he can live in a beautiful city and environment, but he becomes unaware of other cities and environments and does not care about others. So what kind of merchant and businessman can this be? Because after a stage, the destiny of humanity starts to move from those who are strong in the spiritual, economic, and political fields on earth, and they get stronger and speak directly to the public. The goal of these spiritual, economic, political aspects is to achieve justice on earth. I came to this conclusion as a result of these issues and troubles, disasters and troubles we have experienced. Just as you have said, these issues are not things that can fit into a 2-hour television program. Maybe there need to be rallies. Worldwide news agencies need to pay attention. They should come, ask their questions and get their answers. Therefore, we thought that if someone is very successful in the economic field, if one is successful in spirituality, one will be successful in the field of economy. If one is successful in the economic field, the way to success is the political field will open, so that they should be put aside by side. Spirituality means having a good state of mind, no matter whether he has a supermarket or a grocery store, greengrocer, restaurant, hotel, or even a country owner. He should not talk down to people. He should lower himself. Why? Because his spiritual potential brought him to this stage and gave him such strength. Why would a strong person look down on people? So he needs to lower himself to talk to his people. When people go to a restaurant to eat or shop at a grocery store, those businessmen are given that honor and abundance thanks to the people. Then you have to show yourself humble and modest to the people. Thank them and thank God. Whatever your religion is, you need to be grateful to your prophet. For this, I'm stressing the spiritual aspect. There are many things to talk about. I came to this stage by learning something from everywhere, and I stored a lot of knowledge during my 42 years of business life, from being 13 years old and starting to work in Kuwait until now. When I said spirituality, I would always be careful not to misappropriate. I would do good to those around, even pray for people. For example, I was doing carpet trade for a while. Then I sold someone a carpet and earned money. I would go and pray for the man. And then on the next day, I would have an even better customer. I was praying for him, as well as even better one. I was thinking of a small business, but by blessing the customers and the people, I woke up one day working at such holdings that wouldn't even have crossed my mind. It is necessary to spend a long time to have an academic education, to gain experience in the market, which does not fit into one's life. How should one have all these experiences in one's lives, 50 years or even 100 years? It can only happen in a miraculous work, or it can become true with the support of spiritual power, received by the people with whom he is in contact. This is how I realize that spiritual aspects can also make people economically successful. Reliability, righteousness. For example, I once bought a carpet in Iran, and I took it to a respected sheikh wife in Kuwait. I took the carpet and said, I bought this in Iran for this and this much toman. After looking at me, she asked, are you really a merchant? I jokingly said, well, yes, I'm a trader, but I couldn't even figure out the T of the trader. She laughed and she said, what did you say? So I explained to her in Arabic, and she laughed a lot. After I said, ma'am, I bought the carpet and brought it to you. If you like it very much, give me 100 times as much. I will kiss your hand and I will go and pray to you for the rest of my life. But if I bought it for 2 toman in Iran and told you I bought it for 100 toman, then it would no longer be the morality of the prophets. It would be religious morality. It says, be righteous. Religion says that this God says this. It has a certain custom. It has a rate of 5%, 10%. But I can't do that either. I am telling you for how much I bought it, and you give as much as you want to. That lady did me a huge favor that day and gave 2,000 toman opposite my second toman. I mean, if I said it in Arabic, the value of the carpet was 100 Kuwaiti dinars, for example. She gave me 5,000 dinars, which I was having difficult even counting. This is how I started business and gradually found myself side by side with Kuwait's very big oil companies, then states and power traders of all Arab countries. Now, while I talk to you here, the big business companies and governments all over the world are now contacting me both spiritually, economically, and politically. And they come and go and talk to me, and my mind has improved a lot in spiritual, economic, and political areas. But if we come to dreaming of those 3 prophets when I was in the United Arab Emirates, I always thought about these things since my childhood, until we came to the year 2000. You can calculate it. I was born in 1964. We came to the year 2000, and I have always been doing business this way. For example, an oil company was hiring me, and he said that I would get $10 million from this trade. And I said, I do not want it. Why $10 million? I could not even spend that, I said. I want as much as I need. I do not accept more. The owner of the company was tearful. They are giving too much money to you. Take it and I can spend it, he said. Then I said, no, if I learn how to spend that much money in one day, I will take it and distribute it to others. Talking about others, they could be family or friends, people of my country, and later of the whole world. Let's keep it short. These events have gradually brought me to such a place that today I have been given such powers, spiritually, economically, and politically, that I can now give a lot of joyful, very pleasant, and good news to all the nations of the world, to the members of the three major religions. I can open this way so that all the people of the world can be enlightened and relaxed spiritually, economically, and politically. Why should there be difficulties? Why war? Why poverty? Why even distances between nations? For example, it always came to my mind, I miraculously came to the Anatolian lands unintentionally and met the good people of this place, visited the market, saw the people walking, and fell in love. This was important for me from the very beginning. Why is there a difference between Arab, Turkish, and Persian in most parts of the world? No matter how much I think about this, I see that we are all the same. Where do these problems come from? While thinking about these things, such contacts were made in major economic areas that the owners of the greatest economic powers around the world, of course, I do not know how it happened. They invited me in 2008 when I was in the United Arab Emirates. They hosted me on a very beautiful island. Maybe I said before, it was like paradise. They took me to this island with a private plane, and they had a big question mark and wondered how it came that I got to this stage from working on the streets. Of course, I told them some things. They were somehow convinced that they saw that although I used to be poor, I had now some very special information concerning the world, especially on the economy, which they emphasized. Then I realized that the officials of BP, or British Petroleum, a huge powerful global company that discovered the oil, realized that I knew everything about this company. I even know where their oil wells are placed all over the world. I was talking about oil, natural gas, energy trade, information, and they were wondering how I came to this stage.
Mr. Duraki, the information you gave that they also saw you give, so where did you get this information from? Because, as you know, a lot of people have the habit of talking about a topic without really having much information. Can you explain this to us? Where did you get this information from?
This is a very important question. As I said before, I was able to somehow enter a few big oil companies in Kuwait, then met with bigger companies, and then through them I met other companies. Of course, these took time. This does not happen in a day. Well, think about it. As I told you, you went to Kuwait when I was 13 years old. I made these speeches in 2000 and 2002, and in 2003, that flower miracle happened in 2004. I found the white operation to make these spiritual, economic, and political statements to the world. The information was accumulated like this. I got some information from them. Some of them were very surprised. For example, I gave them some economic and financial figures about my home country, Iran, and gave them information about the discovery of oil in Masjid Suleiman, and even Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Oman, United Arab Emirates. I even told them about the Gulf of Mexico. One of them said, I am an expert in this field and 75 years old, but some of this information is new even to me. But I checked on what he said. My men confirmed it, but although I was 75 years old and an expert, I had no idea. Another one said, I am one of the group's biggest experts in finance and investment. I am 70 years old. I have never heard of these financial reports. I've heard from you. But the numbers that you gave seem correct. But I told them I had documents and I showed them. I will show these documents even here so that you know how I came to this stage. If necessary, how come I am talking about this? I can explain these spiritual, economic, and political matters. If we come to my dream where I saw the three prophets, I saw them as follows. We never came from war or anything. You are thinking right, and trade was work of the prophets, they said. As it is said in Islam, trade is the work of the prophets. So if someone who is engaged in trade has no loyalty, if he does not talk to people from below and always sees himself at the top, then this trade route will be evil. In the wise way of trade, there is always a way to earn people, to give abundance to others, to the satisfaction of the people, companies, and even for governments to benefit. I have always followed this direction. Yes, I saw all three prophets crying in my dream. So it's not only a matter of religion. For example, in the ID it might say Jewish, but he took wrong actions about a Muslim. In that case, it will even harm the country of the Muslim. We are experiencing similar things already. Later, the three prophets said, "The three of us were already one, and all of us came to this stage after experiencing much hardship." Prophet Moses said, "I punched someone, then I fled to the desert so that they would not grab and kill me and hand me over to the Pharaoh. I did not know these things."
Did he tell you this in the realm of dreams?
Yes, he told me this in my dream, and sometimes inspired me while walking on the beach. So Prophet Moses told me himself, "I protected the right, I protected the gain, I protected the justice for humanity. My tribe is Jewish. It is okay if they come and talk something. My people saw Judaism first, then Christianity, then Islam. But our goal was to bring good and abundance for humanity. So if someone comes and dismisses Islam with my identity, or if they try to dismiss my tribe with the Islamic identity, this is not right. And unfortunately, these mistakes are happening in this age of technology. They created such an environment that I, as a Muslim, do not know the terms of my trade in Islam. I think if I pray day and night in the mosque, and then go and sell this glass for 100 lira, it will not be a problem. No, it will be a problem. First, I have to give this glass to the people for the right price. Then my prayers will be accepted before God. That is spirituality, no matter if it is for Jews or Muslims. But I see that everybody's effort in the world is to increase only the zeros of their assets. If someone has 100 billion, they want 200 billion. And then I go and see that most of them are so sick that they cannot even eat food. It would not be right to give names, but I saw one of the world's great personalities, and he told me, "Mr. Mohammadi, how well you eat kebab between bread. I want to be able to eat that way, but only have food in liquid form. I cannot eat."
Couldn't he digest solid food?
Yes, he couldn't digest it, and his stomach was completely destroyed, I said. "What do you do with this trillion-dollar fortune in your hands in the world?" He said, "Tell me, what good does it do?" I said, "It would be much better if it was spent for humanity and for charity." This is the common goal of the prophets. That's why I consider them in one place: spirituality, economy, and politics. So if spirituality goes well, and the economy will improve, if the economy is good, politics will get stronger. But not if we always shout slogans into the world. I can tell you this with documents. There are enough assets worldwide for 100 billion people to live comfortably. This can be confirmed by an expert. There is money. And there is so much money available.
Right now?
Yes, right now, in this moment, while I'm talking to you in this studio, there is sufficient money for 100 billion people. Enough possibilities, there is everything. But the experts of the world should come now. They will know better and ask me. They should ask how many people are starving at the moment. And I would ask them, why should they be starving? There is enough assets, there is food, there's even fruit, there's even clothing. Why? Then there is a problem in spirituality. So, there is no spirituality, no morality, there is mischief as in trade. When trade breaks down, it spoils politics. So these three things keep the world turning. No offense, but they want to go to Mars in the 21st century right now. They talk about technology. As far as I can see, all of this contains big problems. I am thinking like this. For a while, I was thinking about having a grocery store, but now I've developed this much financially. I have progressed. Let's stop reproducing money. Let's stop chasing dollars. My friends told me, come to me and earn $10 billion for this job, $100 billion for this other job. I said to them, I don't want money right now. I'm looking for a country where I can spread these information and news. Of course, I could not do this in the country of my Arabic friends and brothers. Everyone knows me in the United Arab Emirates. Sheikhs, even all the states in the world know me. Special figures of the realm, politicians, the mega-rich, they all know me. They know who Sayyid Mohammadi Duraki is. But other normal folks do not know. They told me, we are your little ones. Your words, spiritual, economic, political, are all connected. They say it gives a political results, I said. What should I do, I added. I learned this and I have to spread it. I miraculously came to Anatolia based on the inspiration that came to me. I had no information on the Anatolia and Turkey. I did not know anything about the Anatolian Turks. After I came here, I was surprised, and as I told you in the previous program, I shed tears. A power told me, you can spread your energy here for 2 to 3 years. I stood here, I traveled, I ate meatballs, I traveled to Istanbul, and then I told myself it's not working from here. I need to go to my country, Iran, and spread my spiritual, economic, and political information. Iran is now different from all the other countries in the world, because 41 years ago there was a revolution, and is named the Islamic Revolution. In these 41 years, it wants to teach Islam to the Jews and Christians. I was a child at the time, and I was 13, 14 years old. I was even happy that the Islamic justice came. Everything will be fixed, and first of all, we thought that the Iranian nation will be blessed. Our country will develop, our economy will improve, spiritually will advance. Everyone will behave well to each other. The state and politics will improve. Our relationship with the world will be strengthened. Because we always desired these things, I was thinking I should go to my country and talk. I got into the plane and went to Iran. I also took the documents as I told you before. I made an 8-volume book out of them. I gave this 8-volume book to the leader of Iran, Mr. Khamenei, to the Islamic scholars of the city of Qum, and even to the president. In other words, to the most powerful men of Iran.
I want to learn something. Are these the 8-volume books that contain these important documents?
Yes, these are the very important documents that even the salvation codes of the world's greatest powers, such as America, Russia, and China, are written there, if they understand.
Sorry, you're talking about codes. Into what direction do they go? Let me put it like this. You are talking about 3 directions, the spiritual, economical, and political. So, are the codes in the documents concerning all 3 or only one direction, so that they are only given to statesmen? While you're talking about this, what I understand is that the keys of these codes are more of political nature, and this is why they're given to politicians. This is why you are dealing with politicians. I'm not mistaken, am I?
Good question. No, it includes all 3 directions.
All 3 equally?
All 3 equally, so spiritual, economic, and political. Why? Because in the documents that I took, no matter what the world calls it, or no matter what the world leaders say, I am always ready to answer, and in all languages. I will explain it to them with a translator. These 3 topics are equal in the documents. When I was giving the books in my own country, I wanted to say this. O my country, Islamic Republic, if we save our country by equalizing the spiritual, economic, and political matters, then we can contribute to the world, to the Muslim societies. They introduced the Iranian leader as the world leader of Muslims, even when speaking on our TVs. If we ever claim to be the leader of Muslims in the world, then we need to be able to give them something, both spiritually, economically, and politically. I went there to give this to them. That is, you can succeed in spiritual, economic, and political aspects, but on the terms which are available in the books. If you ask me and listen to what I said, you can become the leader of the world's Muslims. No offense, but if you don't have the conditions, if you do not have the power, even talking about this is morally wrong, economically wrong, and politically wrong. It is like this all over the world, in America, Russia, China. For the Turkish people, it is also the same. For the Arabic world, it is the same. No matter who, it is the same. If you haven't gained these 3 powers, it would be wrong.
So these 3 powers need to be there in parallel.
It needs to be parallel for you to be able to say this. And these documents were given to me when I saw the 3 prophets in my dream, when I talked to the world's greatest on that island. At the moment I said that, this environment was given to me direct the whole world in the right spiritual, economical, and political direction, so that everyone's life is comfortable. In these 42 years of my experience, religions, God, and the whole universe have asked this from humanity. If in some cases there is a problem, war, or something, it is a problem of the person himself. that is, the people responsible, are not resourceful. The power of the universe never forces anyone to do this and proceed like this, because in life there is the freedom of choice, because people are free to choose whatever they want in this world. If you choose a right path, as I said, with the right intentions, if you present the goods to the people, the grocery store will turn into a supermarket. If you provide the right service to the public and offer the right goods, then you will have a hypermarket and a city center. These are new terms. I do not know much about them, but we use them. Yes, if the right service is provided in the hypermarkets and city centers, these are new terms. I do not know much about them, but we use them. Yes, if the right service is provided in hypermarkets and city centers, if it develops and the people receive sustenance and abundance from there, you will gradually turn to big projects. For example, you build an airport, you build roads, you build houses for millions. You can do big businesses around the world by treating them right. What is trade? It is a free earning area in which anyone can operate. You can open up to the whole world. Now, how those who want to talk about these big things and fix the economy in the world go through these ways so that they can serve the world. Unfortunately, according to the current news that we receive, there is no such thing. How will they fix the world's economy? How is the spirituality and how are the politics? They should answer, and if they cannot answer, I will answer for them. The leaders of the world's 250 countries, of course, according to the records, 193 countries are members of the United Nations. If they came to the United Nations, I would give all the answers. Apart from that, there are about 250 countries in the world. I will give their answers and develop their countries to whichever country that wants it. It can be developed in all three directions, whether it is African or Asian, the Far or Near East, Europe or America, China or Russia. I give the necessary information in terms of spiritual, economic, political aspects and develop their countries. They should come and ask, and now I have this potential. I have the documents of all the meetings that I have made with these people I talked about. We were talking about the limitless wealth in the economic field. Why don't they allow it to be used? Why is nothing done? There are question marks for all of these. I can give you this answer.
I didn't fully comprehend the connection to the spiritual aspect yet. I want to ask like this. In our previous programs, you were talking about an island. As you have also mentioned now, you talked to some people on that island, and according to what you said, they are somehow in contact with a global criminal gang.
Yes.
And somehow they rule the world. So, you have these documents that will help you manage the world in the right direction. Did you get these documents from them? Did you collect them during these years when you were dealing with trade? Or from those three prophets you said were receiving messages? If you could clarify this part a little more, because you made some explanations in the previous program, and now we are continuing it. But if we clarify this part a little more, we will be able to continue more easily.
This is also a nice question. Let me tell you this. There are some things so that I might stand against the people of the whole world. I don't know. There's an institution called the United Nations, and it claims to belong to nations. It talks about nations, religions, and rights, and it's the place of rights, the place to protect people. So there's no problem. If they want the codes, nations, Islamic nations, they could all go to the United Nations and listen to Sayyid Muhammadi. Right now, on my website, everything is documented from when I was born up until now, where I was born, and so on. There is clear insight into my life. Let them come and ask. I will explain it to the United Nations. Yes, I have received some of these documents in these 42 years while I was trading in Kuwait for international companies. I want to give an example. Today, Kuwait has a state. It has an emir, Sheikh Ahmed Jabir Sabah. And the Kuwait state is also in contact with the whole world. This country is an oil country. But today, my information about Kuwait, the state and oil of Kuwait, I can easily say that this in front of the whole world, even to the people of Kuwait, who are my brothers, are a very good nation. I like the Sabah dynasty and the sheikhs, all of them. Which statesman in the world has my knowledge about the discovery of Kuwait oil? Nobody has it, I'm sure. But your question was great. Yes, I received some of this information while trading. I wanted to be a craftsman and have a grocery store in Kuwait. But I reached the dynasty oil companies, and this is documented. Big countries where I had 49–50% of the shares, so I was managing by proxy. Companies with very important agreements that I was also partnering with. I was also telling them that I had nothing, that these were entrusted to me. For this I spent 7 to 8 years so I could bring the spiritual, economic and political side of the work into the right direction. Yes, some of these documents came to me thanks to trade and connections, but the spiritual news that were given to me, I call them the third power. So if the world wants to understand the third power, they can try. They can come and ask, what if I was aware of the details of the BP company's oil deal in the Middle East 110 years ago? While I'm 55 years old, that is, what if I told you about the information concerning things happening 55 years before my birth? And if I'm giving punctual figures about the oil and natural gas business of my own country, Iran, the Middle East, the Gulf of Mexico, and everywhere in the world, where oil originates, Nigeria, Africa, the great Anatolian lands, then they should all come and I will give the respective documents to them. This is where the contacts are changing, and when we examine the investigational news, the economic and political, we see some criminal gangs. They have been there since 5,000 years. 5,000 years ago, there was Moses at that time. A few thousand years later, the Prophet Jesus came, and then Prophet Muhammad came. The world has always been there and will always be there, but we are studying this time period of the world. So what do we want to do? I can now prove to the world with documents and everything that the wealth in the world is infinite. Spirituality is eternal, and the fields of politics is infinite. But these past few thousand years, criminal gangs have formed some group and prevent my people from getting stronger and wiser in spirituality. Likewise, from an economic and political perspective. And now you are asking, how do I get information and documents from spiritual sources? This has to do with wanting. Whoever wants will succeed. If people do not want to develop spiritually, if they do not want to examine what religion wants to tell them and what someone to command the nation from above, then of course they won't understand. They won't understand spirituality. Same as economy. They always want someone to build a big company and to tell them to come and let them give you a job. So they earn a little and go home and lay down. You will come again in the morning. They don't want to know where he brought the company from. For example, when this Sayyid Mohammadi wanted to open a grocery store himself, while he never even had a pencil in his pocket ever, how come he is doing billion-dollar trades now? The people are not questioning this. Our own country, the people of Iran, are spreading around the world, and they have magazines, newspapers, TV channels. I've been talking with them for 17 years now on spiritual, economic and political matters, and no one ever came and asked me anything. So how will these countries evolve? How will Iran, Middle East, Muslim, Jewish, Christian countries be fixed? It's not possible. They will all come together as one and question religion, as well as economy and politics. Right now, the criminal gangs are destroying spirituality by making them godless. The people are right from their own perspective when they deny religion, because the criminal gangs are forming networks of lies. They are strong in all three fields, of course in the devilish sense of the spirituality. They create books and destroy the religion. They destroy the economy. They enjoy and looking down on people.
What do they gain from this? I'm thinking you're saying there is enough wealth that is sufficient for 100 billion people. Now, I do not know how many people are in this criminal gang, but what do they want to do with the share of wealth of 100 billion people? Can you explain this?
A very nice question. Yes, I asked them. I asked the ones who were around me nearly 80 years old in my own language.
Yes.
And it was directed to them by their translators. They answered me. It was an interesting answer. We are doing this because the people want it themselves, they said. They call me Sheikh. They explained it to me like this. Sheikh Mohammadi, if the people want this, then we have to do it. But look, You came to this stage by wanting a grocery store to the management point of the world. They are not that big, a few families. Altogether, there are 3, 4, 5 families. But since the last 200 years, or since 110 years, when the oil was discovered, these families have multiplied. But still, they are only 2,000 or 3,000 people, like inheritors. Now, I do not know the ones from 200 years ago, but this system is left to children and grandchildren. They are family, but they told me, we are asking you to design a system so that we can give the rights to the people of the world. They do not want their own rights either. You, as Sheikh Mohammadi of Iran, claimed your rights, and now you want this form for us as you can form poverty too? But do the 80 million Iranians want this too? I said, I really don't know. The people don't want this, they said to me. There's been a commission for the oil trade for the Middle East since the past 110 years. The commission is normal and necessary to trade. It is $150 trillion. Altogether, the island they are living on is worth $50 to $60 billion. Maybe even $80 billion, around that.
Can you just tell us, where exactly is this island?
I don't know in the middle of what ocean it is. The experts of the world need to know this. Of course I will announce the documents that I received from them.
Can you find it on a map,
one day.
or is it a secret?
Yes, you can see it on the map. Everything is in the place. I can show the documents. They also address me in the big titles. For example, Mr. Mohammed Damed Bakr, which is an important title in Islam. Of course all of them are Jews, but not much of a difference. As is written in the Quran, there's no difference between the prophets. We have no problem in this area. The problem arises in the involvement of criminal gangs. They are disrupting spirituality, both economically and politically. Yes, if the news agents want them, I have documents for this. Even America has a big problem now, so that it's necessary to help, spiritually as well as economically and politically.
So, also the United States of America is controlled by this gang.
They will make a big blow to America. The gang, as I call them, had talked to me. This gang broke up the Soviet Union. I'm telling you this as I have documents. Yes, they smashed it and made it to what it is today. As I said, there's enough fortune for 100 billion people. If the Soviet Union did not break up, its income and assets would be enough for 50 billion people. Those fortunes and money is now stored somewhere, like decor. It has no use for anybody.
If it has no use?
Yes, it doesn't. And the rest of the $50 billion is traveling through the world. I can prove these things that I say with documents. There's enough of everything sufficient for 100 billion people, but we're always making war against the Middle East. For example, we supposedly made a revolution in Iran, but we have been at war for 41 years. For 8 years with Iraq, from time to time with Kuwait, Afghanistan, the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, Bin Laden. As long as I remember, there's always been a war and arrogance in the Middle East in these 41 years. The fights are all about who is the superior to whom. No nation or economist is ever saying, we want the people to live comfortably. The fight should be over. The investment should be increased. The roads should be opened. The nation should live peacefully and be brothers. Nobody is talking about these things. One country is saying, I'm stronger than you, and starts a war with the other one. And then people are dying. We have so much wealth. Let our life last 50 years, or let's say 100 years. Why should we kill each other?
We don't know the reason why some wars start. We don't know why some end. And we don't know the result. In the war of Iran and Iraq, who won and who lost?
They should come. I will answer. As I said, this happened to me miraculously from the dream economically and politically. To all of these, I have answers and documents. Why aren't they coming? My language is Farsi. Well, why didn't the media companies that broadcast so much in Farsi in the world or the television of my country even ask me about this white flower in these 17 years? They came and saw.
Yes, the matter of the white flowers in your office.
They came and saw it, but they're all a gang of their own. In the last 8 years, I have been in thousands of meetings in Istanbul, America, Europe, Russia, everywhere. All of them monopolize the event. All of them say, just be with me. They say, trade with me. You will earn billions. We will also give you a palace like this. I realized something else in these 42 years. It purely contains everything that is spiritual, economic, and political. For this reason, I founded the White Operation in the United Arab Emirates in 2003. I talked about something on TV in 2004, and then in 2006. The Arab brothers plotted and imprisoned us, and when I came out of prison, I opened up the whole world. But this part of the story is very important. They also extinguished the document. Yes, our Arab brothers, they extinguished all the documents.
So, you mean those documents were destroyed?
We came to a good part. I took
Yes.
these documents, which I made into a book of 8 volumes, to Iran. They took them and burned them, but now I have them. We came to an important part. The whole world needs to answer this. The clergymen should answer. The Vatican, Jews, great scholars of Islam, Al-Azhar University in Egypt, Anatolian scholars, Hejaz scholars, or Iran. Let Jewish, Christian, Islamic scholars explain this question. All the documents were burned and destroyed. When I got out of prison, I was wearing only the prison pajamas. How did the original come to me? The book of 8 volumes, 6,000 pages were taken by the force of Iran, who are now claiming to save the nation and the Islamic world, who have promoted themselves against terrorism. I can give their names. Why are the Iranian leader and scholars in the city of Qom silent? Why is there no explanation for these books that will save the Iranian nation, Muslim, and everyone in the world? Why isn't anyone explaining this? Why is nobody going after it? Why are the statesmen not asking for this book? Why are they not saying Muhammadi was crying for Iran to give these books? He was praying for Iran and for the people, while in the other countries you take his books. You disrespect and leave. So it happened that miraculous, the power that I call spiritual, said to me, you will only be able to talk in Anatolian lands. Look, it did not work out in Iran. The scholars should come and I will tell them. Who told me this? Maybe I will show that God talked to me. I will show documents of the 3 powers that claim to save the world. I will show such things that will prove that I speak either to God, to prophets, or to power beyond the world. I cried in my own country, explained that I fell in love with our villages. I am in love with Baloch, Kurdish, Turkish, Persian, all tribes in my country. I am praying for them while I was crying. All places of Iran, I am crying for my country since I am 13 years old. So since 42 years, now the world's scholars should come and I will prove to them where God is, where religion is. If the Iranians are wondering what the Mahdi will give to humanity and what will be good for the people of the world, then let them come and I will tell them. Did he want the people to be poor now? An Iranian is now chasing after a credit of 1 million toman. A young doctor of this country, does he have to get on TV and cry over the state of his country's economy? Or a family whose father went to jail is left without bread? This fortune, except Iran. Iran has $1 trillion of money now. The money of the Islamic Republic, period. I have the documents. Why is that? Why is everything broken? Why are they not listening? If Muslims wonder who the Prophet Muhammad, the ancestors of Arab countries, is, I will tell them with documents. It's also about the Prophet Moses and the Prophet Jesus. Go and work for the development of the world.
By the way, when you say that this criminal gang is saying these people want it to be like this, I do not accept this. If the people find out about what belongs to them, they will for sure want it. But the people don't receive this information. The people are always told to be grateful for their poverty. As you said, when I think about it now, correct me if I'm wrong, all nations suffering from poverty today live in countries with great and endless mines and national wealth. So, where is the wealth going?
Great. You're paying attention to very good points. My speeches don't fit into studios like this, but now the world is huge, and this is the only way we can only convey the messages we want to convey to people. I cannot do it from my own house. I cannot knock on everyone's door, one by one, here in Anatolia and say, "Hello, I am Mohammadi. I have a message for you." You addressed such a point that my eyes were tearing up, and I was holding myself hard. It's actually not like this. As a matter of fact, those in that gang are telling the truth. I have documents for this. The situation is like this. When they say people, they do not mean ordinary people in the street market. There is a small percentage in every society. In some 4% or 3%, 2% or even 1%. Although they are in a minority, they are the leaders of the society. The ones who look at their people from above. I'll explain it simply. After oil was found in Iran and the Arab countries in the region, and trillions of dollars of fortune were made, these minorities are managing those fortunes, and those criminal gangs are taking them. For example, about 100 years ago, someone in Iran said, "Give me $100 million, and I will go to Europe with my family and live there." They gave him $100 million and transferred the $1 trillion to their accounts. It has always been like this, unfortunately. This is a very sad and makes one cry. I am sad about this. I don't know about the others. They handed me the documents of all of them and said, "We got these $150 trillion as commission." Sheikh Mohammed, the actual money is an enormous amount, you know. That's exactly what they said.
In how many years has this commission reached this amount?
110 years since the first oil well was found in Masjid Suleiman. They are taking a very small commission, but this small amount became $150 trillion at the moment.
So, how much is the real value of this trade?
A terrifying amount, a serious one. At least I can say that this wealth that belongs to the people of our region or the whole world, because this belongs to the whole world. It's not private. It belongs to the whole world and to everyone. And if we start from the documents given to me of this wealth, let me tell you that of only a few countries, you can consider the figures of the whole world for yourself. If we talk about the value of Iran, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, the United Arab Emirates, Oman, Qatar, if we talk about our region's oil and gas value, I can tell you that the main money is hundreds of trillions of dollars. It's a dire situation. I don't know if the computer can calculate this. Of course, with today's technology, it should work, but it doesn't fit in my mind. How I came here thanks to that dream after I was being a grocer. Exactly. It was all about a dream of being a grocer. Can you believe it? Yes, I can say it is hundreds of trillion dollars.
Hundreds of trillions of dollars were the value of the oil trade. And that only in one region?
Yes, just in one region. We're not even talking about the one of the
Yes,
whole world.
just in one region. We are not even talking about the whole world, and this area is having thousands of problems due to heating energy or oil.
Yes. Technology has developed over the last 100 years, and airplanes are used and fuel is burned. Machinery, factories, electricity. This fortune is terrifying. Let me give another example. When they welcomed me on the island, they had an expert who was responsible for the mathematics and accounting matters. And he said that all the asphalt streets in the whole world would be covered with gold. only with the oil money. Yes, can you believe it?
Okay, now you are telling us all of these things, but do the documents include these? Can you prove these things?
Yes, I have documents for what I'm talking about. They were also in those books. For example, when I was 8 or 9 years old, I worked at a kiosk, and when I first went to Kuwait, I was doing errands for a workplace. I started small and reached this stage. This is important. I did not have these documents. My father had a passport more than 50 years ago. He had a passport before I was born that was valid for 10 years. I think it was the Shah era, and he added me to his passport as his companion. My father does not know what he did with it. If you ask my mother, she also won't know. They brought this passport to me, and it was all clean. If it was scanned, it became clear that it's original, that it's 50 years old. When my father renewed his passport at Isfahan, he threw the old one into the trash before he left. So how did his passport get to me?
Who gave it to you?
Let religious scholars give an explanation now. Jewish, Christian, Islamic scholars who want to introduce God. They want to spread it. They teach the right again. They teach the right politics. They want to save the earth and go to space or something. Let them explain. Who can bring this passport to me? Let them tell me.
So what you are saying is that some spiritual powers gave it to you?
Yes, spiritual. You can call it alien or something else. Yes, I'll explain this slowly. I received these documents in a miraculous way, from different people with different appearances. Yes, it was given to me this way. I told the man who brought my father's passport, "Let me offer a cup of tea to you." But he did not say. He asked me, "Well, is this yours?" And I said the photograph is my photograph, but I do not remember. "Wait, let me ask my parent," I said.
In older passports, they used to add children as companions.
Yes, this is how I was added. I also put it on my website. "Let me ask my parents," I said. My deceased father was living at that time, and he said I had several passports. Whenever I renewed it, they were piercing the old one, and I was always throwing it into the trash there right away, because I did not need it, and keep it was useless. Now my son asked, "Are you sane? The heat there didn't drive you crazy, right?" I said, "Daddy, this is your passport. There's your picture, your name, and your name was written." He said, "I know. I remember that much. You have reached such a place so that you can say that you found the passport. I put it into the trash in the passport office in Isfahan many years ago," he said. "It's really clean. I can bring it, sparkling. There was a receipt. I bought a gift from my mother. I even have that receipt. While due to the weather conditions in Kuwait or Khuzestan region in Iran, it can remain intact for 5 months at most. But this receipt is for 38 to 40 years ago, and it is very good condition. And even if it got thinner, it is obvious that its writing was of that time. Who brought that to me? Let the clergy explain. The spiritual side to this. Talking about economy, why do I talk about trillions of dollars in the world? Those who are competent should come from America, the IMF, the West, Iran, Arab countries, Anatolia, and ask me about economic issues so that I can explain. These issues cannot be explained in such a small session. It is difficult. Let's talk about politics. Why do I bring up the topic of politics? Because they told me. They gave documents to me, and I saw that even in our country, they bring the ones that want on the top and take the ones they don't want. If the world politicians asked me, I could prove it. For example, they gave me a document about a sultan, which he has signed himself. There's also a photograph. They asked me, "Do you know him?" And I said, "I have seen him on TV." The man said, "This is his signature and the letter that he wrote in English in the language of his country. He signed it so that his father would be exiled." I asked for the reason. He said to me, "Sheikh Mohammedi, you are more advanced in spirituality. You tell us why he signed it. Because, as you say, there is a problem in spiritual, economic, and political morality. This problem here always existed from the beginning since 5,000 years. You have your own support now to save the world," he said. But you ask yourself now, he said, now a son has given his signature like a bill. Just as he did, there are also people in the Oil Commission who give signatures like this. As the wife of one of the great sheikhs in Kuwait told me, those men said to me, "We know you. You tell us the price you buy the goods in," they said. That hurts the people on the inside, and then they pay even more than necessary. And then, in the night time, I think about it and see that he is right. So, for example, if the price of this is 10 dinar, and they told us it was 50 dinar, then we would bargain and tell them make it 40 dinar. But when you say 10 dinars loyally, the trust increases and they can give thousands of dinars. Then they think he fooled us. Here we understand loyalty is the biggest form of fraud. So you need to speak truthfully. Even to cheat people, they will trust you. Why would you lie in trade? It's the same in spirituality and politics. Why should I speak about things I know nothing about in spirituality? Why do those who make statements about spirituality speak of the prophets and God before they're able to act right? Let them first explain themselves, then give orders to the people. Actually, there shouldn't be any orders, as the one with spirituality will lower himself. He cannot look down on people. He needs to lower himself and talk. It is different if the people carry you up and treat you with great respect. But you should know how to lower yourself. At the moment, our world is moral, economic, political danger. I wrote this on the site of White Movement in 2003. I wrote it in Arabic, Persian, and English. The world is coming to an end. That is still on the site. These documents are on the site. There's everything I talked about on the colorful TV channel, but nobody cares.
Are you referring to statesmen or others when you say, why didn't they come and ask?
You're posing your questions with very good points.
You're welcome.
This is exactly the environment that I want. Sometimes I think, should I ask the people and give the answers myself? I finally found somebody who was speaking my language in Anatolian lands, and he was asking important questions that I was expecting. Great, yes. I took my boss Hassan Gaz to Tehran during the big oil trades. I took him to Iran during the presidency of Mr. Hashimi. And now I ask you, who should I have taken him to the oil matters? To the supermarket? The street vendors? To who? Yes. Who should I take it to? Yes, the oil companies.
Oil companies.
I had to take them to the oil companies. What is an oil company in Iran? The government and the Ministry of Petroleum. And now I am asking this to the world. Do I have to talk about big business matters with those who run cafes in Sirkeci or Taksim in Istanbul and entertain the public? Or does it have to be big businessmen or statesmen in Anatolia? Or if you want to talk about hundreds of billions of dollars, or if you want to talk about trillions of dollars, do you go to a citizen in Lalile and talk about it? He would laugh and say, "Are you okay? Are you dreaming?" He would say, "Come, have some tea and go to work." This is like in America and everywhere else. These topics need to be discussed with great people of the country. I was surprised about this. I gave them information in form of 8-volume books in the Iranian government. So the government of my country not know about it. They are aware of everything. Do they know where I am at the moment? They do. Why didn't they ask? This is important. Because what I have is the most important for the Islamic world, because they are the most troubled ones at the moment. As far as I've seen, at least 42 years, maybe 100 years, 200 years, 800 years. These troubles have always been there. We learn this from history. I learned this from myself. From what I've seen in these 42 years, all Muslims are always dying. The economy is bad, poverty and disaster. There's nothing else. My own country has the greatest wealth in the world. I know a mine in Iran that is more valuable than oil. I have documents for all of this.
Who is in control of this?
At the moment, it is not control of anyone, but it could develop Iran and the whole world. The people of Iran are taking credits of 2 million tomen for their children's school expenses or for food. Who should I talk to about this? If I go to the streets of Tehran and talk to the people, they would beat me up. They would think I was crazy. I'm forced to collect these and bring them to the statesman. Sorry to say this, but I'm not sure whether the statesman understood this or not. They did not come and ask, so that I can show them the way. I'm not sure whether they are doing
I
this
will
on
ask
purpose or not.
something. You came here 8 years ago and told us that the news needs to be spread from Anatolian lands to the whole world. Well, did you visit Turkish statesmen? Will you go to them, or are you waiting for them to come to you? Can you tell us, please?
That's a great question. First of all, the Turkish statesmen know me very well.
Well, did they come to meet with you?
For example, the president himself or the ministers may not have come personally, but I'm telling you, they sent all their relatives.
Yes.
This is it, the president's relatives, his wife's relatives, ministers' relatives. That's it, there's nobody in Anatolia who does not know me, this poor man named Said Mohammadi. And it's pretty obvious that my life was like this for the last 8 years.
Then you have a pretty good connection to the statesman.
Yes, I was in contact with the statesman.
Were these codes also given?
No, I know someone told them the codes, but I guess they were a little scared to dig deeper, because it was such an extensive piece of information.
They didn't take them from you?
They didn't take them, of course. Some economic groups came and benefited very well. I solved their issues by phone. I provided the people of Anatolia with work connected to the Arabic countries, and they earned money. And just because I came, many of my friends came and made investments in this country. I could also give their names. They are well-known people. But the great friends were maybe a little scared, as the messages and the codes I need to spread from Anatolia concern the whole world. No matter how much I talk about it, I seem to fail explaining that it is miraculous and not political. Right now, I do not want to convey my needs to our brother President Erdogan and ask for help. Thank God I can say without exaggeration that I am the only person in the world who is not needy right now. I had to say this here.
Abundance?
Yes, abundance. Right now I am the most abundant person in the world. I personally don't need a thing. There are possibilities for me anywhere in the world. I can also support those in my surroundings. That's what I do anyway. But since this matter is pretty big, I understand that our brothers who are statesmen are probably scared. But I guess the fear is over now that they see I'm speaking truthfully. What I'm saying is that I was miraculously directed to Turkey, although I did not know the past and situation here. A secret force told me that my information can only be given in these lands and not elsewhere, as they concern the world, and are spiritually, economic, and political topics. I was even invited to Washington. They gave me a red passport there, and their representatives invited me, and I want to give my message. But a force told me, you cannot give this message from anywhere else. It can only happen here. It can only be in Istanbul that is full of energy. This is what the power told me. Later, I will also explain that power. Mr. Obama invited me to the American Embassy in the United Arab Emirates. We talked to the Consul General there. He even brought my food with his own hands. Everybody was respectful. He told me to cooperate with him and the American government. He even told me to talk to groups that were assigned from them in my own country, with groups. And I said, forgive me and thank you for your hospitality and convey my greetings to Mr. Obama, but I can address the people, or even the communities, so Judaism, Christianity and Islam, the people in general, whether they are Iranian, Arab, American or natives or anywhere else. I am with the people and I have nothing to do with groups or governments, I said. What was important that I told him that he and I had nothing in common and no business. He thanked me and I left. And he thanked me and left. The Secretary of the United Nations, Abu Dhabi, came and tried to direct me to some groups of Western countries. He said, come, take asylum in Germany. We will provide all the services. Go to this person, go to that person in France, he said. I said, no, I'm a poor person. I want to become a grocer. And now all I want to do is to think and talk about what I have on my chest, I said. I want to give spiritual, economic and political knowledge to the whole world. I have no business with a group or something, I said. In the 8 years that I have spent in Istanbul, no one of these people I met came to me and said anything like this. This is important, so nobody tried to take me to their side. They always left respectfully in Istanbul. What does that mean? It means we don't have the kind of power. This is so much better, but the fact that I'm talking about these things in this studio today is a miracle that those 3 prophets told me. And of course, thanks to the blessing of the great people of Anatolia, they have worked and lived in these lands for centuries. I later learned that there were 2 great empires here before, the Roman Emperor and then the Ottomans. Then this place became an Islamic country. I was always walking around here. Then the power told me, you can only talk from here. I also tried it in my own country, Iran. It didn't work. Then I came back and came here to talk again. Yes, that's what the message was given for. If the religious scholars in Anatolia, Jews, Christians and Muslims come and ask me why,
so, according to the message given to you, you need to talk from here.
I am ready to explain the reason. I will tell them who told me these things. Let's see whether they will be able to endure it. When I tell them who told me this, I am praying for them to be able to endure it. Those who hosted me on the island, all of them Jewish people, told me, we have run out of energy about what you have to say. Economic documents, then political issues. I am ready, but this topic is too big. But you manage this time very well. You exactly asked the important questions wanted to clarify. I answered as much as I could. In the future, we might have opportunities. Maybe we can make a request to create an environment so that I can make comfortable explanation. Then it could be translated into English and other languages so that the world like this can take this from me. In an environment like a rally, I can speak more comfortably and we can easily awaken the world from these 3 directions and get results. There are 3 directions that I want to push myself and push it out to the world. And I really want to make it important about the economic, political, and spiritual way. Especially in the spiritual way.
In my mind, I have a very sensitive question, and I really need to direct it to you. From the last 2 programs, and also from what we are talking about right now, it is important for you not to go to the person who needs help, but the person who needs help needs to ask for it himself. I will give an example for this and then pose my question. Let's say we are walking on a street, there is an accident and somebody gets hurt. Generally, if there was a care worker or health worker nearby, he or she would immediately take care of the injured person and try to help. In my view, a trouble has happened to all of the people of the world, and you say you have the code that will save all the people of the world and ensure world peace. And you have to give this key to the statesman. I say this according to my own information. You can take an appointment from the statesman. There can be a meeting and a talk. Why aren't you doing it like this? It is as if the healthcare worker did not go to help the injured person. He or she sees the injured person and says, I won't go there if he doesn't ask for me. Or, he should come to me. This confuses me. Why did you never approach a statesman until now? For example, you could take an appointment to meet the President of Turkey. Did you do this? And if you didn't, then why not? Please, explain this to our viewers.
I've been thinking about this question a lot, especially in the last 8 years. I previously made an investment in Iran during the
I
presidency of Mr. Rafsanjani. Thank God I was living under good conditions. This was what I asked myself since I got out of prison in Dubai, and since the last 8 years as the spiritual, economic and political key was given to me, and that is what I am after. Actually, I did what you said. I sent a request, talked to intermediaries. But it is very interesting that whoever I talked to for giving this key to, or for meeting with some president, they privatized the matter. I also went to my own country. There is a video. I'm sitting here with Hanamiya. He's sitting next to me. All the scholars of Qum know me. But when they're for them to do a job, but those intermediaries work for their own interest. The problem starts here. Everyone personalizes the event. What I'm saying is at least think of the Muslim countries. Through the spiritual, economic and political matters concern the whole world. But what should I do if the person next to the Iranian leader pulls me up and says, "Come, let's eat together"? I can't force the leader. I cannot go to Erdogan and force him. Yes, I love Anatolian people and I always praying for them. But I cannot force them by saying, "Mr. Erdogan, I need to give you these 3 codes to you." I announce my messages at the places that I have to. So if some things are to be done, let them be done now. A great and global action, great effort, and now the other side needs to take this step. If the leader of my country sees that I'm trying to convey something, he should say, "Bring him here and let's see what he has to say." In that case, I would go, talk and explain everything. But it's not possible if they don't want it. Maybe I will die and my secrets will go with me. Maybe some people will find them or other groups. The real matter is this: the world's leader, be it spiritual, economic or political, they need to ask me, so that I can answer. This is not a thing that I can go and give. There is no way. How can I give it? For example, you write a petition and this goes to a private office of the president or his deputy. Now, if someone cares about spirituality like me has done this and has not received an answer twice, he will never mind the 3rd time. I can no longer spend 3 times energy to meet with a minister. I will only say it once. That's all I can do really, just try once. If they understand or they don't understand, I can only explain once.
Yes, you said this earlier.
Yes, I told this to everyone. My own country. I said this to Obama. This is a matter that concerns the whole world. You claim to have superpowers. You say your economy and spirituality is good, and you want to save the world. Come and let me give you something, so that you can save it better, I said. Sorry, but you can't save yourself, I said. You cannot save yourself and the criminal gang, and one day you'll be forced to come to me. This is how it is. You can ask me, as President of America, don't you have any claims that you will save the Iranians? Don't you say we're going to save the Middle East? There has been so much war for the last 40 years in the Middle East. If you want to help the Middle East, the Islamic countries that you'll call your friends and the United States of America, you need to come and take it from me. I have the means. Come and get it if you need it. Do I need to beg for you to take it? If our country wants to solve the problems of Iran and the whole Islamic world, as you have asked this question, now can you answer? Will a strong person go and kiss their hand? He has to go and lie at their gates until the morning so that they can crush him in the morning and he will serve them. Or do they need to come, even in trade? If someone wants to invest, they treat them with respect, lay the red carpet under their feet and serve them so that they make this investment. And now somebody is saying, I have the way to save the whole world from 3 directions. So does he have to beg for this? Even in our own country, I know Mr. Rouhani. For 40 years ago, he was the chief of national police during the Rafsanjani era. His brother Feridun, his son-in-law, his daughter, and all the relatives in the village of Sorhe, they all know me, and I know them, also the ones from other countries. Rafsanjani's family, Ahmadinejad's family, Hatimi's family, Ayatollah Saneh. All the statements of Iran know me. If they want to save the people, then why don't they let me speak to Iranian television? They go and find a government official, and in their program they say he was a manufacturer. I also invested billions of dollars in Iran during the Rafsanjani period, so that Rafsanjani himself jokingly said to me, "You made me a leader of development." If your company hadn't made investments, then we couldn't have made it, he said. So what's the problem now with Hatemi, Ahmadinejad, and Rouhani won't come and see me? Why is Khamenei not calling me? I'm saying that we could solve the economic problem in Anatolia in 2 seconds. Why should the people be uncomfortable? Let me solve these countries' economic issues. Why is there no answer? Well, I'd try to give them something by knocking at their doors, begging after trying for 42 years. They should think of it themselves. You can only do something with your own will, but if you hadn't wanted to come here, then you couldn't have forced me as a sheikh or Hassan Gaz in Kuwait. An American company, or those who made trillions of conversations with me. They did not force me. I went because I wanted to. What result did I achieve? If a leader wants to save his people, then he should accept liars for a meeting. Think good, maybe get a key even from these lies. I learned this in the spiritual way. If people care even about liars, then they will get a very positive result at some stage. This is the spiritual side of the job.
This is true.
Yes, it's true.
Since we're reaching the end of our program,
Yes,
I
unfortunately.
want to briefly talk about this topic again, because I have one question mark. In Iran, statesmen and their families and relatives meet you because of your commercial relations, yes. But, according to you, this message should be given from Anatolia, from Istanbul. Of course, the statesmen of Turkey and their relatives don't know you as they do in Iran. That is normal. That's what I think. Well, we are talking about the 3 religions. What I see in their past is this. Abu Zer endured many difficulties to spread Islam in Islamic history. In the history of Christianity, Christ Jesus himself washed the feet of his apostles. Or the Apostle Paul suffered a lot to deliver the Christian message of salvation. The same happened in Jewish history. Prophet Joshua or Aaron, all of their private lives were scattered, but they faced so many hardships so that they could give God's salvation to the people. Considering this analogy, do you think that you could have reached your goal faster this way? Because what we want is that the salvation that you are talking about is given to the people as soon as possible. Do you think this way things would go faster by following the people like Apostle Paul, giving the good news of salvation? Can you expand on this issue a little?
Again, it's a very important question. I actually prefer these kind of questions being addressed to me. I myself have done everything from the age of 7 to 8 until now. From kissing my parents' feet to sleeping at the gates of the people I do business with. And maybe people would be even surprised that I say hello to these people. Although I say that even those wrong people are important to me. This is what I've done in these 42 years. For me, this has never been a problem.
Yes.
I've done all of these things. I starved, I slept at the gates of some, but I did not do that for my own profit. I just wanted to give 3 or 4 pleasant news. But unfortunately, it didn't have an effect. I'm doing this now, even in Anatolia. Let those who know me come and talk about me. I cannot explain myself. Some people got to know me in this world, in the streets, in the city. Some of them were poor and some were rich. They should be asked about what my behavior is like concerning this issue. But this does not apply to everyone. It just worked for me, because I united with the people and loved them. The result he gave me a gift to speak here. It was good for me to sleep at their gates. It's not for anyone. I mean, sleeping here and there at everyone's houses was perfect for me, but it's not for everyone. Listen, it's a really important point here I want to make. It's really important to be with the people. It's really important to spend time with them and for them to fall in love with you. I will do whatever it takes for the public to fall in love with me. Like I said, I want world peace. That's what's important for me. I have now reached the great spiritual, economic and political conclusion. How can the world benefit from this? I am a poor and ordinary person. Besides the Prophet of Islam, there are 4 or 5 caliphs and helpers. In fact, ordinary people spread Islam. For example, did the Prophet or the people build their great mosque in Anatolia? Did the Prophet or the people build the mosque in Europe or in America? Of course, the people. Did the people make churches and synagogues, or did the prophets Moses and Jesus Christ? Of course, the people. When someone has a huge key, others have to support him. Now, since I have no knowledge, I wouldn't have been able to come here if it wasn't for you, if these friends didn't exist, if they hadn't seen me crying, or if we take a look at Iran, where I am known to all statesmen. Why don't they come? Why don't they see the cries? Unfortunately, no matter who came. For example, they came to me in Iran and said, "Uncle Haji, help me out with 2 billion for this matter." And I said, let's say I gave you these 2 billion. What will happen to the people? We have a great gift for the people, I said. I myself used to be very poor, and my ideal was a grocery store. Now I have come to this stage, but it happened with my skill and struggle, as you call it. Lying at the gates, going after it brought me here. But this power needs to help now. This is how we can give it to Iran, the Islamic world and the whole world. But unfortunately, the ones coming always have personal interests. Even in my own country, I was donating my own money, but it entrusted maybe billions of dollars, and with documentation, I can't give it anymore. But the 1, 2, or maybe 100 people that came to me always wanted money from me. I cannot betray other people's relics like that, even if I have enough money for myself for the last 200 or 300 years. I've spent it conveying this message to you. Until now, there has been nobody to do that. But I hope after this program, I hope somebody will take a step forward. I'm so sorry for tiring you out.
Not at all. Thank you for taking time for us. We came to the end of our program, but our talk did not come to an end. We can see that. I hope we can welcome you in our program again. We will be honored to support you. And in this way, to contribute to the welfare of society and world peace. We stand by all those who take the flag of world peace and support it. Thank you very much for participating in our program.
And I want to thank you, the Anatolian people, the Iranian people, and the whole world. I hope we will cooperate and open the doors of world peace to our world so that everyone can see that. If there is a spiritual, economic, and political order, there will be peace. Whoever says otherwise is on the side of the criminal gang. Thank you.
Yes, we have come to the end of another Agenda Special program. Mr. Saeed Mohammadi Duraki was our guest for today. Did we run out of topics to talk about? Of course we did not. And we hope that in our future programs, we will talk to him again. He is aiming for a meeting with statesmen here. Of course, he expects the statesmen to pay attention to this issue, as he says. And his biggest goal is world peace. We are for world peace, just as everyone else. Everybody wants world peace, and hopefully we will witness that it will happen as soon as possible. We thank him very much for participating in our program. We hope to see you again in a future program. Thank you very much, and good evening.